I'm Jeff Sass. I'm the Chief Marketing Officer for .art Registry. We're the registry operator of the .art top-level domain extension.
And this is Domain Voices.
Jeff, what makes .art stand out?
Well, .art is really unique in that on the one hand, it speaks to a certain vertical, and when we think about art for .art, we think about all of the arts. So it's not just visual arts, it's painting, it's sculpture, it's dance, it's performing arts, it's music, it's anything to do with creativity, really. So it speaks to that vertical, but at the same time, it's also very generic because everyone is an artist, right? Everyone has a creative pursuit, either as a side hustle or something they like to do to relax, or everyone knows someone in their family or a friend who is pursuing some type of arts. So when people discover that .art exists, it's become very popular. In fact, one of the most popular registrations we have is first name, last name .art. So many artists, from aspiring artists and students to famous artists, even the actress Sharon Stone, she's a painter, she uses sharonstone.art for her paintings. And part of that is because in the art world, there's no centralized body that certifies you, right? If you're an engineer, you can get certified. If you're an architect, you can get certified. If you're an artist, it's self-declared. You're an artist because you say you're an artist. So having that .art domain, having that identity online is a really great way to tell the world that you're serious about your creative pursuits and you want to share your work online. So .art has become very popular for all of those reasons. And it's not just for individuals, many businesses, art fairs, biennales, galleries, museums, businesses around Web3 and NFTs all use .art domains. So we have over 300,000 registrations worldwide in all of those categories. Well, I think we've always been very interested in the innovations around art and technology. And so when Web3 came around, NFTs became very popular. A lot of digital artists have been experimenting and working in the NFT space. So there's a lot of interest in .art in that world. So it made good sense for us to also activate .art in the Web3 world. So we were one of the early TLDs to be involved with ENS names, and .art is compatible with ENS, so you can have your .art domain and also have a matching ENS domain, the same .art name functioning like an ENS name. And it was very important for us that there would be no collision. So only the owner of the DNS.art domain could have the ENS.art domain. So there's one owner, so you can have a shared identity in both worlds. And we've also activated a gasless way to connect your .art domain to a wallet or some other Web3 asset using just a simple text record. And of course, we're working with great registrars like Freename who are activating Web3 in different ways as well. And I think it's really interesting for artists because number one, they're very tech savvy digital artists in that space. Number two, a good use case for the Web3 side of your domain is to connect it to a crypto wallet. Very much like a DNS domain name is actually pointing to an IP address, and it becomes a human readable way to reach a particular number. A wallet is the same thing. A wallet address is a long string of numbers. It's very easy to get confused or make a mistake. Having a domain name connect to that wallet address becomes an easy way to remember. And if you're an artist and you have a website on .art and you're also accepting payment via crypto and your same web address, your same URL is also your wallet address, that creates a sense of trust for the customer. They know they're sending the money to the right person. So there's a lot of different innovations coming in Web3, and I think it's important for .art to be a part of that. Yeah, I think art is very special in that art has therapeutic benefits. Our corporate social mission is all around promoting the healing power of art. So we started our Healing Power of Art initiative about almost 3 years ago now, and we devote a portion of our revenue from the sale of .art domain names to promote access to and awareness of the healing powers of art. We started this with a commitment to fund a fellowship in graduate studies at GW University in Washington, D.C. They have the oldest art therapy program in the country. We committed $1 million to fund this fellowship to them. We pay the tuition for 2 students a year. for graduate studies in art therapy. The goal is to bring more art therapists into the world. The healing power of art is also a very personal mission for the .art family. Our founder, Ovi Kasimov, and his family, his oldest daughter, Medina, today is a very successful artist. As a young child, she had some issues with speech and communication since birth, and through her art, she literally found her voice, and she's a successful artist today. So it's a personal understanding of the power art has to heal. And this is more important now than ever before. Post-COVID, the whole world is under a tremendous amount of stress. There's the highest levels of mental illness, anxiety, depression than ever before. And not everyone can afford to pay for a therapist or buy pharmaceuticals. But art is accessible. Art is available to everyone. And art has that healing power, not just for the artist. The act of creating is very therapeutic, but also the consumer. When we view art, it changes our emotions, it changes our feelings. There are even some doctors who are prescribing museum visits for patients who are suffering from anxiety and depression. They call it social prescriptions. So as you can see in my shirt, we think art should be treated like a supplement, right? You should take your art daily to feel better, and it's very accessible. So that's really our underlying corporate social mission, and we think art has the power to really change the world for the better. Yeah, it's a good question. So as the registry for .art, we actually think of ourselves as much broader than just the domain registry. That's our foundation. It gives us a semantic monopoly on the word art in many ways, but we have a lot of different services that we've built and provide for artists to help them advance their careers. We have a platform called ID.art that takes advantage of our patented digital twin process to allow artists to upload their work, generate certificates of authenticity, back it up on a blockchain, create a QR code that links to all their items, and all of that's done dynamically. So we had the opportunity to acquire Hug last year. Hug is a community of about almost 40,000, about 25,000 are artists, and the rest are collectors and passionate people about art. And this community is really a very engaged community of artists that allows us to work with them and provide these tools and services. And also Hug has an open call platform. So open calls are opportunities for artists to get shown at an exhibition, to apply for an award, to be presented at a gallery or an art fair. So at any given moment, we have anywhere from 6 to 12 active open calls on Hug, and you can find them at hug.art. And these open calls present really great opportunities for artists. So it's a very engaged community. Of course, many of them have a .art domain and use their .art domain, and that's a nice side benefit, but the goal is really to have this active and engaged community of artists. And Hug was started by Randy Zuckerberg, Mark's sister, and Debbie Soon. And we're very happy to take the reins from them and continue to grow and nurture that community of artists and creatives. Well, it's interesting. I think the future of art is evolving very rapidly as technology evolves very rapidly. As I mentioned earlier, we're very interested in the intersection of technology and art and business, and it's happening at a very rapid pace. We have been sponsoring an award every year for the past 8 years, the Digital Innovation in Art and Culture Award, and we've seen really interesting companies coming in to apply for that award who are changing the way art is going to be seen. For example, this year's winner, a company called Art Crush, uses digital screens all over the world as art exhibitions, and they curate art exhibitions and place them on digital screens all over the world. We have a user, beambike.art, who's rigged his bicycle. I believe he's based in Europe. He rigged his bicycle with a projector, and he goes around projecting art on the sides of buildings and other public spaces. The digital world of art is rapidly changing. We talked about NFTs. We talked about blockchain. This is changing not only the way art is created and shared, but also the way artists can get paid. With that technology, blockchain technology, artists can actually get royalties on subsequent sales of their artwork, which is something that they were removed from in the physical world. In the physical world, when a painting is sold the first time, that's all the artist gets. After that, all of the secondary sales the artist doesn't participate in that. So technology is changing that. And then of course you have AI and what AI is doing to change art and how art is created. So there's a lot of really interesting things happening with digital art, generative art, AI assisted art. There are artists like rethink who uses very sophisticated algorithms to create amazing works of art using technology, using AI. He's been the first artist to have a piece of generative AI work in the permanent collection at the Metropolitan Museum of Art in New York. He's launching a museum in Los Angeles for his art called dataland.art. So there's a lot of ways it's evolving based on technology. So I think the intersection of, that was a long answer to your short question, but I think the real answer is this intersection of technology, art, and business is changing the art world dramatically going forward.
Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Here, we're recording here. Let's start.